September 3, 2025, Sea of Japan. At 04:28 hours local time, the pre-dawn darkness exploded with the simultaneous ignition of 6 Hwasong-15 intercontinental ballistic missiles launched from concealed positions across North Korea's eastern coastline. The massive weapons, each standing over 20 meters tall and capable of delivering nuclear warheads to targets across the Pacific, climbed through the atmosphere with trajectories that would carry them directly over Japanese territory and into international waters, where U.S. Navy vessels conducted routine patrol operations. The USS Curtis Wilbur, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer operating approximately 180 nautical miles northeast of Honshu, detected the incoming ballistic missile signatures within minutes of launch. Radar operators watched in stunned silence as one weapon's flight path carried it directly overhead at an altitude of 550 kilometers, close enough that crew members on deck could observe the missile's exhaust plume as it passed above their position at 17 times the speed of sound. For the first time since the Korean War armistice, North Korean strategic weapons had been deliberately targeted to overfly American naval vessels, marking a fundamental escalation in Pyongyang's confrontation with the United States and its Pacific allies. The demonstration proved that the Democratic People's Republic of Korea possessed both the technical capability and political willingness to threaten American forces with intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of carrying nuclear warheads. This is Navy warfare. If you want to understand how ballistic missile demonstrations can instantly transform regional tensions into global nuclear crises, smash that like button and subscribe for analysis that reveals the escalation dynamics of modern deterrence confrontations. The Hwasong-15 missiles represented North Korea's most advanced intercontinental ballistic missile technology, with estimated ranges exceeding 13,000 kilometers when carrying reduced payloads. Intelligence assessments confirmed that these weapons were capable of delivering nuclear warheads to targets throughout the continental United States, making them strategic rather than tactical weapons systems. The decision to launch 6 missiles simultaneously demonstrated both technical sophistication and strategic intent that exceeded previous North Korean provocations. Captain Sarah Mitchell, commanding the USS Curtis Wilbur, experienced the unprecedented situation of having an intercontinental ballistic missile pass directly over her vessel during peacetime operations. "We tracked the signature from launch through overflight and impact," she later reported during classified debriefings. "The trajectory was clearly calculated to demonstrate North Korean capability to target naval forces operating in international waters." The psychological impact on the destroyer's crew was significant and immediate. For sailors who had trained extensively for conventional threats, the experience of having strategic nuclear delivery systems pass overhead represented a fundamental shift in threat perception. Many crew members later described feeling helpless against weapons that traveled at speeds and altitudes that rendered traditional naval defensive systems ineffective. Japanese response was swift and comprehensive. Prime Minister Ishiba activated the J-Alert emergency warning system, sending automated notifications to over 40 million mobile phones across northern Japan. Citizens were instructed to seek immediate shelter while authorities assessed potential impact zones for the incoming ballistic missiles. The psychological trauma of air raid warnings activated for the first time since World War II created panic in urban areas as millions of people sought underground shelter. The economic implications were immediate and severe. Tokyo Stock Exchange trading was suspended after major indices dropped over 12% in pre-market activity. The Japanese yen experienced its largest single-day decline against the US dollar since the 2011 tsunami disaster. Airlines suspended flights over the Sea of Japan, while shipping companies rerouted vessels away from potential impact zones, creating immediate disruptions to Pacific trade networks. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol convened an emergency National Security Council meeting within 30 minutes of the initial missile detections. The government immediately authorized the deployment of additional Patriot and THAAD missile defense batteries, while scrambling F-35A Lightning II fighters from Cheongju Air Base. The proximity of North Korean launch sites to major South Korean population centers meant that any missile malfunction could result in catastrophic civilian casualties. Most concerning for South Korean military planners was the demonstration that North Korea could coordinate multiple intercontinental ballistic missile launches simultaneously. This capability suggested that Pyongyang possessed command and control systems sophisticated enough to manage complex strategic operations, potentially including coordinated nuclear attacks against multiple targets across the Pacific region. The United States Pacific Command responded with the largest military mobilization in the region since the 1994 nuclear crisis. The USS Ronald Reagan Carrier Strike Group, operating near Okinawa, received orders to proceed immediately toward the Korean peninsula at maximum speed. B-52H Stratofortress bombers launched from Andersen Air Force Base, while additional B-1B Lancer aircraft deployed from continental United States bases to demonstrate American strategic reach and resolve. Want to understand how intercontinental ballistic missile demonstrations affect regional deterrence calculations and alliance relationships? Hit subscribe and the notification bell to stay updated on Navy warfare's exclusive coverage of strategic weapons and nuclear deterrence dynamics. The missile impacts occurred in predetermined zones approximately 2,200 kilometers east of Japan, well within international waters, but close enough to major shipping lanes to disrupt commercial traffic. Each impact created massive water columns visible to commercial satellite imagery, proving North Korean accuracy and demonstrating the regime's ability to place warheads within relatively small target areas at intercontinental distances. Intelligence analysis revealed that the missiles had followed precisely calculated trajectories designed to maximize psychological impact while avoiding direct attacks on populated areas or military installations. The flight paths demonstrated North Korean technical capability while maintaining sufficient ambiguity to prevent immediate military retaliation by the United States and its allies. President Biden addressed the American people from the Oval Office 12 hours after the initial launches, declaring that North Korean threats against our allies and our forces will not be tolerated. The United States maintains the capability and resolve to defend our interests and those of our partners throughout the Pacific region. The statement was accompanied by orders to deploy additional naval assets while activating enhanced intelligence sharing protocols with Japan and South Korea. But the most significant development occurred when North Korean state media broadcast unprecedented footage of Kim Jong Un personally observing the missile launches from a mobile command post. The imagery showed the North Korean leader surrounded by military officials while multiple large-screen displays tracked each weapon's flight path in real time, demonstrating sophisticated command and control capabilities that exceeded previous intelligence estimates. The international response revealed deep divisions within the global community about appropriate responses to North Korean provocations. China and Russia issued carefully worded statements calling for restraint by all parties, while avoiding explicit condemnation of North Korean actions. European allies expressed solidarity with Japan and South Korea, while privately expressing concerns about potential American military responses that could escalate regional tensions. The crisis deepened when intelligence agencies detected preparations for additional missile launches at sites throughout North Korea. Satellite imagery showed increased activity at known intercontinental ballistic missile facilities, while intercepted communications suggested that additional strategic weapons were being prepared for potential deployment. The prospect of sustained North Korean missile campaigns created unprecedented challenges for regional defense planning. This is how strategic weapons demonstrations can instantly reshape regional power balances and force major military redeployments by allied nations. Subscribe to Navy Warfare and hit that bell icon for exclusive analysis of how nuclear weapons development affects international security architecture and deterrence relationships. The USS Curtis Wilbur and other American naval assets in the region found themselves operating under threat conditions not experienced since the Cold War. Captain Mitchell implemented enhanced defensive protocols while maintaining freedom of navigation operations designed to demonstrate American resolve. The destroyer's crew conducted continuous ballistic missile defense training while gathering intelligence on North Korean capabilities and intentions. Regional allies faced unprecedented challenges in coordinating defensive measures against potential sustained North Korean missile campaigns. Japan's self-defense forces activated comprehensive civil defense protocols while updating evacuation procedures for major urban areas. South Korean military units reviewed dispersal procedures designed to maintain command structure survival during potential nuclear exchanges. The psychological impact extended far beyond military personnel to civilian populations throughout the region. Japanese citizens experienced the activation of air raid warnings for the first time since 1945, creating trauma that persisted long after the immediate threat had passed. South Korean families reviewed evacuation plans, while schools conducted emergency drills designed for nuclear attack scenarios. Financial markets worldwide reacted with sustained volatility as investors recognized the implications of successful North Korean strategic weapons demonstrations. Defense contractors experienced significant stock price increases, while tourism and transportation companies suffered major losses. The broader economic impact reflected global recognition that regional nuclear confrontations could rapidly acquire worldwide significance. China faced particularly complex challenges as North Korea's primary ally and economic supporter. Beijing understood that continued North Korean provocations could justify enhanced American military deployments throughout the region, while potentially triggering the development of additional missile defense systems that could affect Chinese strategic capabilities. Diplomatic sources suggested intense behind-the-scenes pressure on Pyongyang to avoid further escalations. The September 3rd missile launches fundamentally altered strategic calculations throughout the Pacific region by demonstrating practical North Korean capability to threaten American territory with nuclear-capable intercontinental ballistic missiles. The successful coordination of multiple simultaneous launches proved that Pyongyang possessed sophisticated command and control systems capable of managing complex strategic operations under wartime conditions. For American military planners, the demonstrations validated long-standing concerns about North Korean nuclear program advancement, while highlighting potential vulnerabilities in existing missile defense architectures. The prospect of defending against multiple simultaneous intercontinental ballistic missile attacks required capabilities that exceeded current defensive systems, potentially necessitating massive investments in expanded missile defense infrastructure throughout the Pacific region. The crisis also demonstrated how quickly regional tensions could escalate to global significance in an era of intercontinental weapons systems and economic interdependence. North Korean missiles launched from the Korean Peninsula could threaten targets across the Pacific Ocean, making local conflicts matters of immediate concern for multiple continents simultaneously. If you followed this analysis of how strategic weapons demonstrations can reshape international relations in a matter of hours, it means you understand the complex realities of modern deterrence theory and alliance management. Hit that like button, subscribe to Navy Warfare, and drop a comment below with your assessment of how democratic nations should coordinate responses to nuclear provocations from authoritarian regimes. Your engagement helps us continue providing analysis that reveals the strategic calculations behind international military planning and deterrence relationships. The aftermath of the September 3rd launches continued reverberating through international security planning for months afterward, with the demonstration that North Korea could coordinate multiple intercontinental ballistic missile launches, simultaneously forcing comprehensive reviews of defensive strategies and alliance relationships throughout the Pacific region. The successful execution of complex strategic operations under international scrutiny proved that North Korean military capabilities had evolved far beyond previous intelligence estimates. Most significantly, the crisis illustrated the ongoing relevance of nuclear weapons in international relations, despite decades of arms control efforts and non-proliferation initiatives. North Korea's missile demonstrations proved that relatively small nations could achieve disproportionate strategic influence through nuclear weapon development, potentially encouraging proliferation among other nations facing security challenges from larger neighbors. The successful launches also validated North Korean investment in ballistic missile technology, while demonstrating the regime's confidence in its ability to deter international intervention through nuclear threats. The implications for regional stability and global security would influence military planning and diplomatic strategies throughout the Pacific region for years to come, establishing new precedents for acceptable behavior in strategic weapons demonstrations and crisis management procedures.